Hello and welcome to our weekly reading. As we have two planets moving into the fun festive sign of Sagittarius this week, being Mercury and Venus. In fact, I think Venus moves the day before Mercury. I've brought in some kind of more elevating energy because Sagittarius is that, and Island Mint is a summertime blend, which I know that the Northern Hemisphere is going into their winter, but for me, Christmas season in the Southern Hemisphere is always hot and beachy, and that is very much the Island Mint vibe. And I've brought in a cacophony of different crystal friends to this reading because that's kind of what it feels like: fun, festive, collective, family, friends, etc. Once we get into Sagittarius season. So the sun doesn't move yet, but we do have those two personal planets. So we're starting to think with Mercury around our festive season and the end of a year. And we're starting to think about what we value, what we're looking forward to, what we love about that time of the year with Venus. So those are the two big shifts. I'm also feeling a lot of still processing of last week's Taurus eclipse, and I would love to hear how everybody else has been coping with that particular energy. And I've got to say, Sagittarius doesn't disappoint in this reading because it is a really lovely reading. Pick your card between 1 and 4, and let's jump in. So I'm just going to show you the whole picture here, and then we'll zoom in as we go to the card that we're focusing on. And mostly upright cards, just the one upside down, which is going to bring in a little bit of checking ourselves. But we start the reading, in fact, we start the reading with a card that is really about being halfway in a journey, finding a turning point, maybe cresting that mountain and then ready to change direction. And we end with this sort of balancing out kind of energy as well. So there is, you can see in this card, there's that light and dark, very, very depicted in this card, because there is always the balance between. And she's balancing on the edge of a roulette wheel, which is kind of on a pile of balanced roulette wheels or chips. So it's definitely something that is not within one's control, and it is a balancing act. We're always just trying to get to that next space. But you can see in her face that she's feeling the love, feeling the luck, feeling the joy. I mean, even as she balances on one leg, as she's balancing on this like precarious kind of precipice. And you can see the dark starry sky below and the light starry sky above. You can see that there's some cloud in the middle. So again, it's this like top and bottom separated section that she's kind of between the two. She's between the left and the right. It's very much a space of, okay, luck and serendipity is here for you if you can see those opportunities. And it's a really positive start to the week, and feels like, again, with the Sagittarius energy starting to come through, like a really positive push into how we can choose to or not move forward into the festive season. And I really love that we've got the Knight of Swords following this card, because he's kind of got a lot of go energy, and you can see that he's got the red sole of his shoe coming off the red wheels on her card, followed into the red of the fence post here, followed into a lot of red in the background of this card. So if you look at it, we've got red as a sort of strand of follow through, and red is linking to our root chakra, which is about facing our fears in a big way, and we can't face them if we haven't recognized them. And this is where the self-work comes in. And again, you can see with her shadow and light energy there, you have to know your shadow and know your light in order to know your fears. Because if we're denying our fears and ignoring our fears and running away from our fears, we can't face them. So the root chakra is about, how do I face my fears and find my sense of safety and security? And I think that the last few years have shown us collectively that our sense of safety and security doesn't necessarily come from things staying the same, because nothing stays the same. Obviously, we know that on one level, but we've also really been shaken to our core with that in the last few years as the world is shifting and changing so intensely. Everything that once felt safe and secure is now kind of not, and we're trying to find our new safe and secure. But as she balances here, the wheel will continue to turn. It doesn't matter that we're having a positive turning point by this week's reading. Next week, it might be a challenging turning point. That's just the nature of life. It's the nature of the universe. Things continue to move. And so finding our new sense of safety and security in the moment, recognizing that it's not forever, because nothing is. But with the Knight of Swords following the Wheel card, which is Wheel is a major arcana. So this is again outside of our kind of control. We can't control the spinning of the wheel. We can control how we handle it. And you can see her handling it with a plume in this particular card. And then the Knight of Swords, which is a more sort of young masculine energy, not gender-based, but the masculine within us, which comes back in here when we balance out the masculine feminine. So that's important. So where is the masculine part of yourself getting your go on and going, right, I'm going to make a decision, or I see an opportunity the Wheel of Fortune has brought into my space. I see the opportunity and I am going to take that opportunity. I'm going to run at it, even if I'm afraid, is a very much the energy that I'm getting from this. So do look at where your masculine energy in yourself is. And remember, Mars being retrograde really brings in that reflect on how your masculine operates, reflect on how you get what you want and how you go after what you want. And that is very much going to mature your Knight of Swords, because he's a really thinking guy, and sometimes he might think so much that he doesn't take action, but sometimes he needs to slow down, think about what he's going to do, grow it up, grow the idea up, and then move forward. But of course, when the Wheel of Fortune card is here, sometimes we also need to know how to just take action really quickly when the situation arises. And then our one challenge here, so with the Knight of Swords is an air card, and the Nine of Wands is a fire card. And this is a real card of, in its upright form, of grit, determination, follow through. It's a really positive card. Let me turn it. She's really not going to give up. She's tenacious. She's built a wall and she's like, you will not cross this boundary. What happens sometimes when it goes into reverse is that maybe our boundaries have gotten a little too stringent and we're not letting the opportunities in. We're not taking the opportunities. We're almost caged by our boundaries. So it's that fine line between developing boundaries, and I know for myself and many people I know, developing boundaries has been a really, really big theme of late. So now, assuming you've been working so hard at developing your boundaries, can you still let yourself out from behind them to keep your heart open to new opportunities? The Wheel of Fortune is presenting them, but if you're trapped inside your own boundaries, you can't take them. Or if somebody tries to step in to offer you something and you won't let them past your defenses, then you have a problem. So this is where we just need to check ourselves at the moment and say, how am I managing the situation with my boundaries? Are they healthy boundaries, or is the wheel turning, shall we say, to bring them to the level of unhealthy boundaries? And that is the caution this week. Don't let the boundaries be so rigid and unmoving that you aren't open to the opportunities that present. And then, of course, the Lovers card, which really brings in that energy of opportunity as well. So if we consider that card of the boundaries being a little too stringent, imagine new love comes your way, but you don't let the new love in because you've built up walls of defense due to past hurts. Now, of course, the Lovers card is very obviously related to relationships, and relationships have been a huge theme in the last few years. And this year, 2022, which we're nearly obviously at the end of, is a 6 numerological year, which means that when we see the Lovers card in a reading this year, it's even more amplified because this is the year of the lovers. This is the year of really checking in with relationships. Are these relationships balanced? And of course, I'm saying lovers and I'm saying relationships because that is true. But remember, relationships are not always in your romantic relationship situation. You can be also looking at other close personal relationships or work-related collaborations, etc. And also, always, as I always say, is coming to the internal. What is your internal relationship with your inner divine masculine and sacred feminine? Because that, again, it's shadow and light in so many ways, is trying to understand how, on the more sort of Martian way of responding to things, is my inner world, how in the more Venusian way of responding to things is my inner world. And we have Venus moving into the passionate, feisty sign of Sagittarius, whilst we have Mars eking his way backwards in Gemini, getting really frustrated. So have you checked in with how you're operating? Have you gotten so fed up? I mean, we could look at these two central cards as saying Mars in his kind of happy, moving kind of state in an air sign. And then we can look at Mars here being unable to move forward. I've built up so many defenses now because remember, Mars is also, Mars or the masculine has that sort of warlike aspect of ourselves. How am I going to go into battle? Now, if Mars feels like he can't do things the way he wants to do things, which he obviously does feel that way in retrograde, maybe he's now gone, well, I can't go out and fight this battle. I can't be the knight that I like to be, who jumps on my bike or my horse and just goes in and fights. So instead, I'm just going to shore up my defenses. And maybe he's gotten a little overzealous in shoring up his defenses so that now nobody can get out to go to the external rivers or markets or anything because he's sealed everybody up in the towers, for example, which will lead us to a tower moment of people trying to dive out of the towers, which is a whole nother conversation. So I feel like this is ultimately a very positive week with the Wheel of Fortune bringing us opportunities, the Knight of Swords desperate to take those opportunities, the Nine of Wands feeling the fear, but she is a card of feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So we just need to make sure that she's feeling the fear and doing it anyway, not feeling the fear and building thicker defenses, so that when opportunities that are for the highest good show up and they bring some kind of sacred union internally, externally, if a new romantic relationship shows up and you need to be open to jumping through that door, or if a new collaboration or job, or really it could be anything that brings you into a better sense of balance. The Lover's card has a really nice feel of balance to it. So breathe as you try to trust. And I would also say, look at your body feelings. I know we don't have any Pentacles cards here, but look at your body. How does your body react to conversations, to people, to opportunities? And then ask yourself, what is my body telling me? Is that anxiety more than excitement, or is it excitement more than anxiety? And also, in terms of our fears, remember there's a strong kind of root chakra vibe going on this week. So in terms of our fears, how can I feel into myself, into my heart, into my body, and check, is this a fear that I can actually feel the fear and do it anyway? Or is this a natural resistance to a situation that doesn't serve me? And this requires developing trust in yourself and your intuition, but the only way to get that is to practice. So practice. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.